Mayflom here, and today I want to show you a quick, super easy way to design a watercolor stencil with the ScanNCut. And actually I say design, but I'm not going to design it. I'm going to go in here into pattern, and I have the CM650W model, which has so many patterns. I haven't even used them all yet. And one of the ones I want to use in here, these are great stencil designs. So I'm going to go into here, I'm going to pick this rose, and I'm going to make this rose 5 inches wide because I think that that would be a good width. And then I'm actually going to pull it down. I'm going to pull it, I love that there's the grid marks in here. So I want it about 2 inches from the top and 2 inches from the side, because that'll give me enough area to work around. One of the mistakes I've made in past is if I do a stencil, I do it all the way up at the corner. Yes, that saves some material, but guess what happens? Well, what happens is I don't have enough edge so that when I get in there, when it's a stencil and I want to be working with it, I need to make sure I have enough gap around the edge so that I can do my coloring and such without a problem. So once that is set, I'm going to say, okay, it really is that simple, guys. If you didn't like the size of it, you could push this button up here and then this button right here, and you could resize it. I don't need to. So it really is that quick and easy to make a stencil. And I do have stencil material. Brothers makes and sells stencil material for the ScanNCut. If you don't have that, you could use cardstock or other heavyweight paper, or even actually you could use thinner paper too. Just understand, if you're going to use paper versus say a plastic material, it's probably not going to work over and over again. Okay. And once I am ready, I just checked that my blade right now is at 3. That worked last time. It should work again. We could always do a test cut if we wanted, but I'm feeling pretty confident, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Get this cut. Now, if you've got a paper, like I have a kind of watercolor paper that just really, you can't stick stuff to it because it's just, it attracts the sticky stuff so much that stencil material on this particular paper would not work. So what do? Well, remember I said you can also cut it out of cardstock. So let me just show you. The stencil material has an adhesive back, so it would lay down and be all nice and sticky. So this is when you wouldn't want it. Do you see how if I'm trying to do this with regular cardstock, it is going to kind of raise up a bit? Okay, it's going to, I mean, not a lot, I'm exaggerating it there, but it is going to want to raise up a bit. However, if you were doing something like what I was playing with, where I want to try some watercolor pencils, and I'll show you another idea for this in a moment. Look how I can so easily color in. So if I was working with pencil, or perhaps particular markers, if markers were working well, this would be a fine idea. So if you don't happen to have stencil material, or if you don't want to use it for whatever reason, then this could be a great option for you to work with, okay? And then as you can see, as I'm doing here, coloring some in, and then I can take a water brush, since this is a watercolor pencil, take a water brush and spread that color. Now you might notice the outline is done here because that's something else we can do. Remember that the ScanNCut does have a universal pen holder. Now, what I found is that my watercolor pencils were too thin. I put, and this, it will come off, I put foam adhesive on the watercolor pencil so that when I go to do this, when I go to put this in, like so, and you'll want it to the neutral position, it will go in, but watch, it will also lock, okay? It'll lock, so then I can use it. Now, if I don't do that with the foam adhesive, if I just leave it without, okay, so without, and try to do that, let me show you what happens. I can do this, woo, but the pencil slides, it's just too skinny of a pencil. It's just slightly too skinny. So foam adhesive, that's my tip with the universal pen holder. If you need a little bit, obviously I'm leaving on the backing, and what I like about it is I can do this onto the pencil, wrap it around like so, and do what I need to do, then remove it. Okay, and you actually don't need a lot. That's probably more than I even needed. So that's just a tip, and let me show you how you would want to do this. I'm actually going to put a pen in there because I want to try something else. I'm really wanting to explore more with the making of little different designs, coloring designs, stenciling designs, that kind of stuff with my ScanNCut. I'm wanting to explore that more, so that's really what this video is all about. So this is me, yeah, this is me coloring, and yes, I could get, you know, we could get different colors involved in there. Maybe I have some watercolor pens I want to add in here to shade different colors. Remember, when you're working with watercolors and water-soluble mediums, a lot of times you can really mix, match, and get absolutely crazy with different combos. So don't be afraid to experiment. We'll experiment more with that. But before I end this video, I do want to show you with a pen how I could set something like this up only instead of pencil pen. So this finished drawing, this is at the exact same spot that I cut my stencil and that I drew with the pencil. So now I've got a pen in here and it's locked in. This is a brush tip pen that I'm going to try. I'm not sure how well this will work, but I'm going to go ahead and try it. And I'm going to push draw instead of cut and start. Now remember, when you're done drawing, you want to go ahead and release your pen and take it out. And I say that because you don't want to leave a pen just sitting around open. You don't want that. You don't want your pens to dry out. So we'll cover that back up. Although in this case, as you can see, it did really well. Now this was a brush tip pen. I wasn't sure how well it was going to work. It is a newer pen, so it does seem to have held up really nicely. But like over here, it's a little sketchy when it first started out. You may want to, when you go to do something like this, test your pen a little bit, make sure it's nice and ready to go, nice and juicy. But also, I sat here talking, preparing my filming equipment, that kind of stuff. So when it first started out, it was a bit dry from sitting out and open. So you just want to be aware of that and make sure when you're doing yours that you're setting it up to work, that you're setting it up in such a way that it's going to work. Now these are watercolor style pens, so look what I can do here. I can now take just with one color, although I could blend colors too, and I can do some fun watercoloring on here. And if you watch, because these are kind of a watercolor pen, and there's so many different varieties out there, you can use whatever you've got or whatever you prefer. But what I'm going to be able to do is just kind of soften those edges so that when I'm all done here, when I'm done coloring, I don't have to have a really hard edge right there. It can be blended and softened. And I know I do have the green there. I know that the green is, well, it's purple. Now I could do a couple different things. I'm going to try a combination. I'm going to put a little bit of pencil in here. Green pencil, dry. This is watercolor pencil, but it is dry. And I'm going to play around with some various green hues in pens as well as pencil. And I'm going to see not only what works, but if I can kind of blend or at least make that purple line not stand out so much. I may not be able to. You know, it may just kind of stand out as purple. And if that's the case, I'm okay with it. I could also try coming in with just the water brush pen. So see, I haven't added with the water brush. This is just filled with water. I haven't added any color. I could also try blending it out a little bit first before I add the green, then let it dry. So see how it's kind of bleeding and lightening up a bit. So I could try that first. I'm just going to play around with different things. And I could also try blotting that with some paper towel. If I blot that with some paper towel, it might help to soak up some of that purple. You see how on my paper towel here, so I could do that again, where I could come in here and put that in there and then blot, and it's going to take some of that purple color away. So I've got options. And I can really just play here and try things out, see what works for me. And I think it's fantastic to see how my ScanNCut in a couple different ways here is helping me do some kind of watercolor, unexpected watercolor looks that maybe I wouldn't have tried, and honestly I haven't really played with that much, but I'm excited to play with them now. And now that I've got the techniques that I'm working on and experimenting with, my next step of course will be to see about project applications. So I'm not putting pressure on myself now. I'm just kind of seeing where this takes me, but my next step will be, where can we take this onto our projects? If you have any suggestions, things you'd like to see, questions, or just want to say hi, you're always welcome to leave me a comment on my blog or on my YouTube channel. I will see you next time. I wish you very happy crafting.